Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1261. This week on Cars Yeah, we're honoring the La Jolla Concours, taking place on April 12th through the 14th. You can learn more about this fabulous event at lajollaconcours.com. I'll see you there.
Appreciate everybody around you. Appreciate what everybody does for you because you're not doing it on your own.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Everyone who knows me knows I'm really picky when it comes to my cars and keeping them looking new. I'm a huge fan of Covercraft floor mats. I've protected my vehicle with their products for decades. Want to keep your vehicle's interior looking new? It's easy with Covercraft floor mats. They will protect your vehicle's factory carpets from daily abuse, weather, pets, children, weekend adventures, and those everyday spills. It's a fast, easy, and stylish way to keep your vehicle looking new. Covercraft floor mats come in a wide variety of styles, materials, and configurations, all designed for maximum protection. In addition to Premier Plush and Berber custom floor mats, you'll also find cargo liners, canine cargo area liners, dash covers, and sunscreens. Enhance your vehicle's looks while protecting the factory finishes with easy-to-install and easy-to-clean floor mats. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. That's covercraft.com. Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special returning guest here on Cars Yeah. Calling in from beautiful, sunny Irvine, California, Lance Stander from Superformance in Hillbank. Lance, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Oh, yeah. As usual. Always with you, Mark.
It's always a fun ride for sure. Lance Stander has been in the automotive industry for over 39 years. He opened Hillbank Motor Corporation, originally located in Costa Mesa, California, in 1999, after years in South Africa where he worked with his father, at Hillbank specializing in selling of Shelby and Superformance Cobras, Shelby Daytonas, GT40s, Corvette Grand Sports, and other 60s classics and sports cars. In 2005, Lance purchased Superformance DBA, Shelby Legendary Cars, and he is the worldwide distributor for all Superformance manufactured cars. He also trades as Shelby Legendary Cars and a company that manufactures and distributes all Shelby continuation 60s Cobras, slab size, FIA, GT40s, Daytonas, and other cars. He is the only company licensed by Shelby Licensing and authorized to Shelby America to manufacture the Cobra Mark III. So Lance, welcome back to Cars Yeah. As I told our listeners just a little bit about you, I'm going to have you tell us a little bit more before we jump into the questions here about your business, your career, and your very obvious passion for some very cool automobiles.
Looking forward to it, Mark. Thanks very much for inviting me back to the show. I've naturally been listening to all the other podcasts and how the show's developed. Man, you've done a great job, and I'm excited to bring you up to date with all that's going on in Superformance, Shelby Legendary Cars, and Hillbank.
Absolutely. And I'll let our listeners know, most of my regular listeners should know by now that I launched the Cars Yeah TV show. And Lance was the first guy to step up to the plate and say, Mark, I'd like to be on your first show. I went out and visited him. Now, this was in his older facility. I've not been back to this new place we're going to hear about because I see the pictures and it's fantastic. But I want to thank you for being my first guest on the Cars Yeah TV show. It had an awesome launch. We have millions of viewers already. It appears weekly on MAV TV. Your show's been rerunning and getting millions of views every time it reruns. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I think as a team, we did a great job on that.
Thanks, Mark. Now, I enjoyed the show and did get to see it. I had to watch it on the computer, but it worked out great. I appreciate what you did.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're up to show 8 or 9 now, so we're going to do 13 episodes this year, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So for those listeners out there, if you get MAV TV, you can go find it there, or go to my website, and I can direct you to where you can watch the show. All right, Lance, well, as we continue on your journey, you know, you're a regular listener. I always ask my guests for some kind of mantra, some kind of saying, something that has meaning for you in your life and your business success. It's a great way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So, Lance, I know you love to drive, buddy, so take the wheel.
Well, Mark, nothing has changed actually from that point of view in the last 3 years. It's the same saying, as I always say, we're just too dumb and stupid to give up. And, but we're having so much fun at it. This is just the most incredible industry to be in. A lot has happened in the last 3 years. Unfortunately, a lot of losses when we think of people like Dan Gurney no longer with us. Just great men that were involved in the Shelbys and made the Shelbys famous, and all the cars that I sell and that we manufacture were raced by these famous drivers, and we're losing a lot of. Unfortunately, Bob's Bondurant's health is not that good at the moment, and we just hope he'll pull through and get through the challenges that him and Pat are going through. Great people, and when I think what Bob did, I got to go a couple of months ago last year. We were in Europe and we went for the Classic Le Mans and to see the classic race cars, to see them racing again. And of course, we went to Reims, and that's where Bob won the world championship in the Shelby Daytona. And the hair just stands up on your back, on your arms. The track is still there in a form. I mean, it's no longer a racetrack, but the buildings are still there. And you can just imagine what it must have been like for these guys, racing at these tracks and back in the 60s, and the speeds they were doing on those roads. Just incredible.
Oh, yeah. Well, a shout out and a thought for Bob and his health, and Pat, his wife. And it's a reminder to all of us that life is fragile, and we're not here forever. So we've got to make the best of it. But your saying always makes me smile and laugh at the same time, because I know you well, and I know the kind of character and the kind of guy that you are. But I also know that, just being dumb and dumb luck really doesn't work in this business very well. I think what it is incredible hard work. When I was out at your shop, I got to meet Rich. I got to meet Doug. I got to meet your whole team. Your family all works there. And you guys are always working very hard. I was just at the Classic Auto Show, and Doug was there with his wife, Marissa, and your son was there. These shows are tough to do. But every time I walk up to your trailer with all your beautiful cars, everybody has a wicked smile on their face. And it's because they're doing what they love. And I know that's why you're always smiling too, even though back in your mind, your brain is racing ahead and you're working your tail off. But I think you've discovered the secret sauce to life, right?
We do a lot. And as I say to most people, I say, well, what's the next one? What's the next show? I say, look, we're just a bunch of carnies. We're just carnival bums. We got the next show coming up. This year we've already done Barrett Jackson, Amelia Island, the LA Classic Auto Show. The list just goes on when I think of all the events, the Shelby Bash. We've just had endless show weekend after weekend. This weekend, we've got a highlight for me. I'm actually a big fan of old aircrafts and the warbirds. Yeah. And we're going to be doing an event at the Lions Air Museum at the Orange County Airport with Mark Foster and his team. What a wonderful setting. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to see what Mr. Lyons has collected in these warbirds and how well they're preserved and preserving history. As everybody knows, Carroll Shelby was actually a pilot in the Army and in the Air Force at least, and loved flying. He flew up until, I think maybe 10, 15 years before he passed away. He was still very active and still owned aircraft. So, we just moved from the one event to the next event, and then we've got the Knott's Berry. We definitely a bunch of carnies. That's what you
crack me up. Well, yesterday's show, since I'm all this week, we're paying tribute to the La Jolla Concours, my hometown Concours. That's where I grew up, La Jolla, California. And the Concours event they have there is absolutely spectacular, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yesterday's show was with Bill Lyon. Of course, his father was the one who started that air museum that you're going to be at. And it's just a spectacular place. I wish I could be there with you, but no doubt you're going to have some fun. I'm going to see you glazing at these beautiful old warbirds. I'll make sure I put a link on Lance's show notes page here. So those of you who haven't heard of this museum, you can check it out. You can go visit it and see what there is to see. Now, I had you on the show before, I asked you this question, but I want to ask it again because the history of your company, Superformance, Hillbank, your father, South Africa, all of this, is really, really interesting to me. And I wanted to take the listeners back to when you first fell in love with cars, I should say, that pivotal moment when you knew that, like your dad, you were going to be a car guy all the way.
Well, I've said this given the story before, but it's interesting and how it all started out. And believe it or not, it never started out as a car guy. It started out as a motorcycle guy. My dad is at a young age. My father was very much into motorcycles also. And he bought me a little Garelli motorcycle from Italy when I was 5 years old. The nickname for them were monkey bikes. And I think they used that term in America too. Oh, yeah. And anyhow, and I used to go to his showroom and he would put me on the monkey bike and kick it in gear. And I couldn't really reach the pedals properly, and then just push me off and I'd just leave it idling and I would go around the dealership, run in amongst the cars. And he did warn me, because those days you were still allowed to beat and abuse kids, and he did warn me that if you hit a car, you will bleed. He said, there'll be no tears, there'll only be blood. And, and
tough upbringing.
Yeah. And I did this and eventually I got my foot down to the pedal and I thought, okay, I'm going to yank this pedal up and see what happens. Yeah. And that gave me second gear. Well, that gave me a little too much speed and I did hit into a car. Yeah. And then, of course, lying there 5 years old, I was 6 years old at the time then, I think, and wanting to cry. And he said, remember what I told you? If I don't see any blood, there's no tears. You're only allowed to bleed, no tears. Eddie, I put me straight back on the bike and said, now you go off and don't do that again.
Tough guy.
So that's how I learned. I started going to the dealerships, but my mother allowed me on the weekends with my dad every Saturday. Yeah. And it changed, to weekdays. And then eventually after school, I would go and the car bug bit me. And it just grew from there. My father was always involved in the Highline sports cars and stuff like that we had in South Africa. We actually had incredible cars in South Africa back then, even with sanctions that had come against the country and that. But a lot of classic cars had come down through Europe, because most of Africa were colonies, and the colonials brought their Ferraris, Lambos, Aston Martins, all this type of stuff into the colonies. And then when they left, and the cars would be there for a while, and eventually they all ended up in South Africa. And so we had beautiful cars. Wow. And that cool. Progressed as, having to go to the army in South Africa, you had to do 2 years, which is the best thing. It really is the best thing for a young guy. I think 2 years is a bit long, but I think every young guy should spend at least 1 year in the army or Navy or Air Force away from mommy. And, they'll learn the real things about life and
grow up a bit.
Grow up a bit. I think that's, part of some of the issues we have with kids today.
Could be. Yeah.
It would make a big difference, the discipline that you do get from the army.
Yeah.
Then, as I said, I came out and I joined my dad. We had the showroom up in Hillbrow, which was on the hill, as I explained to you before, next to the bank, and my dad called it Hill Bank.
Hill Bank. Yeah, there you go.
That's how that started. And we were actually in Hillbrow for probably 7 years. Hillbrow was an incredible place. It was where to all the tourists and all the foreigners, when they came to South Africa, we had a massive amount of foreigners coming into South Africa in the 60s, 70s, and up until the 80s. And they would all settle in Hillbrow. So you had the best of everything that you could imagine in Hillbrow, from Italian to French restaurants to coffee shops, because it was the real people that ran these shops. And we had our showroom there and the clothing stores. And Hillbrow was amazing. And in those years, it was the most densely populated area for its size in the world. We always think of New York, but New York is more spread out than what Hillbrow was.
Yeah, well, it's a fascinating story, and thank goodness he didn't open a shop next to the sewage plant, because I wouldn't want your company to be called the Sewage Plant Motors. That wouldn't work very well, but I always love that story. But I've always asked my guests a question about a challenge or a failure, and since you've already been on the show once before, I'd like you maybe to talk about the challenges of building cars, importing cars, and selling cars that in the past have been thought of as kit cars. And I'm not even going to use that word with you, because you're completely different than that. But I know some laws changed in the last couple of years that I believe have made things a little less challenging.
Well, yes, it was very exciting. We spent nearly 10 years, started off with Senator Campbell, actually came and visited me again the other day. Wonderful guy. He's retired now. And it was the Low Volume Manufacturers Act, or HR 22. It was then picked up by SEMA about 6 years ago. And SEMA just did the most incredible job and actually got it right through and passed, and Obama signed it in as an act 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. But unfortunately, it's been held up by bureaucracy, and it's now, we've got it approved by the EPA. It's got CARB approval, BAR approval. It's all done, but it's sitting at NHTSA at the moment, National Highway Transportation and Safety Association, and that's where it's stuck. It's 2 years overdue. They were only given 1 year to finalize the regulations, and unfortunately, that's where we're at the moment. And it's held up our industry. There's a lot of us in this industry that invested a lot. I did, the new building. I invested in a lot of inventory. Superformance carries about 120 cars in inventory. These were all planned to go straight into low volume manufacturing. And we're registered as a manufacturer with NHTSA. We have our 17-digit VIN. Everything is ready. And unfortunately, they have not put the little rubber stamp on it and said, okay, guys, go ahead.
Bureaucracy just robs you of everything. Well, do you think that it will get passed through? What's your feelings?
We have to stay positive. We have to believe that it couldn't have got all this distance and the amount of time and money and the people that are behind it. It ended up being passed as a bipartisan bill. So we had Democrats and Republicans accepting this. So this is what was so incredible about it. To have it fail now would be an absolute sin. It's not something that is not in other countries of the world. They have low volume manufacturing acts and guidelines throughout Europe, throughout Japan, and so it's something that America, and it's a job creation bill. And it's also how small motor manufacturers will come up. We will eventually become a fully fledged manufacturer. And that is the plan for Superformance. But this is the way in. We right now could not afford hundreds of millions to become fully fledged federalized manufacturer. But under low volume, restricting us to only 325 cars a year, which is going to have no impact at all on the car pool. The cars we are talking about doing have to be 25 years or older. So they're basically specialist sports cars from the 60s and 70s that guys will drive 1 or 2 weekends a month. So there's no really impact. But good support behind it to help us. Edelbrock has been wonderful. They've also come on board as of about a year ago. They are designing and developing the engine packages for Superformance and for other companies, the Ford packages, the GM packages. GM, of course, have been a supporter from day one. They have all the E-Rod engines that are ready for us to do. They already have the compliance certificates and everything for them. So we're all sitting chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
Losing money daily because of this not passing.
Yeah, frustrating. Is there anything that listeners can do that can help at all? Is there any kind of legislators they can go to, or their congressman or somebody they can write to?
Definitely they can. The best would be to go onto SEMA's website and just look up HR22 or low volume manufacturer. They have a link there where you can send a letter to your congressman or congressmen and women in the area. That you could get more information on it. You can post it on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can get it out.
Right.
Get the word out would really be appreciated. Anybody in the industry. This will affect the whole industry, because if our industry grows, it'll help Baller, it'll help Magnaflow, it'll help Edelbrock, it'll help all these companies manufacturing parts for us, because it's not just myself, it's Factory 5 that are looking at producing vehicles. It's Jonathan from Icon. It's just wonderful companies that are doing great cars at the moment. Revology, the list goes on.
The list goes on and on. Yeah, I'm going to make sure I put a link to that. HR22. Go to the SEMA site. Make sure you sign up for that. Follow the instructions. You can help this great cause. And it's so frustrating when it gets this far and it gets stuck. But I wanted to make sure we focus on that, because that is a challenge. And it will open up the doors to so many things. I was just fortunate enough to shoot another Cars Yeah TV show at Edelbrock. And as of this recording, it hasn't aired yet, but it will be airing. Don Barry is their new CEO, since the Edelbrock family has stepped aside there. And I was blown away at that company's facility.
Oh, incredible.
They have their own foundry. I mean, it's just the stuff they're doing, the engineering, the teamwork, the people. I met a guy there that ran the dyno machine for me that had been at Edelbrock since he was 16 years old. He'd been there 50 years. This is an 80-year-old company. So we'll make sure that we put a link to that so that our listeners can go out and help support this very worthy cause so that we can continue to drive some very, very cool cars to our Cars and Coffee and our events. You're right. These are not commuter cars. These are cars that we go out and have some fun with.
They feel good cars. And I'm just going to end off on one thing here. You can let the listeners know if they need any further information. It's Stuart Goswine at SEMA. He's very easy to find at SEMA. Otherwise, they could even email me directly. Believe me, I'm open to that. Lance@superformance.com. And I will send them links and information on this and any help they can give. We'd appreciate. And as I say, they can become part of this movement to get this happening. It's going to help us with electric vehicles too. Superformance is looking at some really exciting stuff, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I'll make sure I put a link to that. You listeners, get out there. It's a real easy thing to do to get involved in this and support it and support the industry and so many jobs, so many fun opportunities. Let's talk a little bit real quickly about your really first special car and what that had as far as a meaning for you, Lance.
We brought this up a couple of times. I actually own my first little car, and it's just a Datsun Sunny, as they call it, little pickup. It's still lying in South Africa. I've not managed to get it over to America yet, trying to get the paperwork sorted out. Not really worth anything. No Datsun Sunnies the pickup version came to America.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one.
No. And it actually had a transverse leaf spring front suspension. So now you know how different it was. It actually had like a Cobra, like a slab side Cobra. And it was a little 1,000 cc. But I went on to owning a lot of cars. I went through a lot of Alfa Romeos because they were real popular in South Africa. Loved the Alfa Romeos. In the old days, they weren't reliable, but they were challenging and they looked great. And then on to stuff like Lancias. And then, of course, at 23, I managed to buy an old Porsche. And that was the start of up until then, I thought they were VWs, and the usual silly comments you've heard people say, it's just a glorified Beetle. Well, it's a long distance from a glorified Beetle, and it's just the most fine engineered cars. And I do love the old air-cooled ones, of course. That's always my favorite. And I grew up in the 911 age. I was not so much the 356 and never really liked the 356. Well, guess what? I've grown a big appreciation for the 356s now. And but strictly speaking, it was a 911, and I own some exciting stuff like a mechanical injection Carrera 2.7 in South Africa.
Ooh, nice.
Definitely. I did not, but those days they weren't worth a whole lot of money, back in the early 80s. So I've had
that's changed a bit, hasn't it? I when I was down shooting with Edelbrock for the Cars Yeah TV show, we also shot an episode at John Wilhoit's shop in Long Beach, where he restores some of the most beautiful Porsche 356s. Have you ever been over to his shop?
No.
Oh, I've got to introduce you guys.
Yes, I would love to do that.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I've known him for years. I bought a Beck Spider from him that he built years and years ago. My son Blake and I jumped in that car in Long Beach and drove 5 days all the way back up to Gig Harbor. Blake was only 8 years old at the time, so he needed a cushion to sit so he could see out of the car. But I'm going to introduce you to John. You got to get over to Long Beach. He's got a new building where he's got a showroom. It's full of 356s. He let me go for a ride in a very special car with his magnificent 2.2 twin plug motor in the back that he builds. It doubles the horsepower that makes the 356 very fun. Not quite a Cobra, but it definitely pops it up. Well, I want you to share what's new since we last talked, because since I was last there to shoot that TV show, since we spoke back then, we've spoken many times since because we see each other all over. But I want to talk about your new showroom, which is absolutely spectacular. But I also want to talk about a new car that Doug and Marissa have the first one. You unveiled it at SEMA. I saw it again this past weekend at the Classic Auto Show. So tell our listeners what has you fired up about Superformance today.
Every day something exciting comes up and we go through all these projects and what's the next car for Superformance to do. But we've done some really exciting stuff in the last couple of years. And you mentioned Doug and Marissa, and they're just the most wonderful couple. And having Doug in the company has been really rewarding for us. He has the car guy passion. And
yes.
And Doug, like everybody, I believe over 8,000 applications. There's probably 10,000 applications for the new Ford GT, and everybody was turned down.
Yep.
But, they could only build so many. Well, Doug said, what if we take the Superformance GT and just spruce it up, make it look like the modern, and do the canards and do the carbon fiber front lip and the big carbon fiber wing. And let's put the Le Mans winning paint scheme on it, the race paint scheme. And we did all that, and we did it in our artwork, and the car looked absolutely amazing. And then we threw it to the factory, and they took a look and said, "Oh, we can do all this. We can do most of this." And then, of course, all the carbon fiber work was done in America. And when the cars came over, we put it all together. And then we had to go with a modern drivetrain. And in Doug's version, we did the EcoBoost V6. It's close on 600 horsepower at the end of the day. It's so powerful. The car only weighs 2,350 pounds with that engine in. So the numbers are amazing. We then built a second one for myself, and I went the extra wide body, like they raced in 69.
Yeah.
And I put a supercharged Coyote Illuminator 5.2 liter V8 engine in.
Oh.
We ended up detuning it down to 700 because the car is 2,400 pounds, and this is incredibly fast in that car. Yeah. It's mind blowing, but as smooth. It drives beautifully. There's no vibrations. It just changed the whole car from the old pushrod engine that you have all the vibrations and all the rest of it. The modern 4-cam engines are incredible. The Coyote engine is just incredible Ford engine.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
So yeah, it's a great car. I enjoy driving it. I will be driving it again this weekend. It's a GT40 you can definitely get in and drive across country. It has air conditioning, of course, and it's very comfortable.
I think Lance has put a couple thousand miles on his already.
Yeah, Doug has. No, Doug has.
Doug, I'm sorry. You're Lance. He's like, well, geez, wake up, Mark here.
Yeah,
I'll figure out who you're talking to.
Doug's driven his to north side of LA and down to San Diego. Don't know how many times. If he could get more time off work, he'd drive it even more.
I'm sure he would. And then he's followed by his lovely bride, Marissa, driving a Daytona. So, their garage is pretty cool.
That's just so cool.
Very cool. And your new showroom. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've been looking for, we've been in the old place for 12 years, and it was great. But we had outgrown it 6 years ago already. But to find properties in Irvine is really, really difficult. Oh, yeah. They definitely are hen's teeth. And I just got lucky with this one. I got an owner that was prepared to listen to my story. If you can, the old-fashioned way of buying and not just dealing directly with a broker. I spoke to him and I said, I'd really need this building. I really want this building. I know you can sell it for more to a Chinese investor. It's very possible, but this is what I want to do. And I gave him the whole, and he was a very nice guy, and he gave me time to sell my other building. And, we great. We're in 25,500 square foot now, beautiful offices compared to what I had before, and a lovely big open wide showroom. But unfortunately, we have outgrown it again.
Oh no, already?
Oh yeah. No,
oh gosh.
I had to end up opening a second branch in Arizona.
Okay. Well, that's not bad.
No, we have another.
That's a nice market.
Yeah, another 40 to 50 cars at our Tempe location, which is on University Drive, University Road, I think it's called, in Tempe, Arizona. Lovely area just down the road from the university. Welcome anybody to go past our showroom. We also open 6 days a week at that showroom.
Wow. Absolutely fantastic. Now, can we chat a little bit about maybe the future? You have any ideas of things about if you're looking ahead in the next year or two where Superformance might be? Can you see down the road that far, or are these secret projects that we can't talk about?
We've got the next exciting project, and it's now open. It actually the beans got spilled at Peterson Museum. I've approached Ford for about the last 10 years for the GR1. If you're familiar with the Shelby GR1, it's just one of the most beautiful cars that Ford designed, and a prototype was built. Actually, a driving prototype was built. Was completed in 2005, and then they had a static prototype, which was just a painted clay model that was pushed around and went to the New York show and went all over. The driving model was a polished bare aluminum body car. Absolutely stunning. Based on the Shelby Daytona. George Sadakis, very, very clever designer, designed this body. And he did an incredible job. He really captured everything that Peter Brock originally did with the Daytona back in 65, but now moved forward 50 years and, 40 years at the time. Yeah. And, George did an incredible job. The designers at Ford are amazing. Unfortunately, they were going to build the GT, and the GT was based on the Le Mans winning car that had won Le Mans 5 years, the Ford GT40, whereas the Daytona won Le Mans only 1 year. So GR1 was never built. Now that they gave me the license, so we're going ahead. I'm working with the guys at Ford. I'm working with all the original team.
Gosh, that is cool.
They all got on board. It's so wonderful how passionate these guys were about the car. Rory McCullum helped us, Chris Theodore, Greg Hutton, Freeman Thomas. The names just go.
Wow. Huge names.
Yeah. John Kleinard, just incredible guys that stepped up and said, Lance, whatever you need, however we can, let's get this to happen. It was finally signed last year. I signed the license agreement. Nice. But what's holding up the GR1 coming into fruition is, of course, HR22 and manufacturer, because we do not want to bring it out as a specially constructed vehicle or kit car as such. Mm-hmm. It has to be a production complete 70-digit federalized vehicle. And we need HR22. We need the Low Volume Manufacture Act to be passed. But in the background, we are carrying on with the development, getting the body parts, getting everything together, the drivetrain. It's going to be based all Ford. And it's going to be a very, very exciting car when it comes out.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I remind our listeners, you can help with this HR22 issue. Again, please take Lance's advice. You can contact him. He can guide you. I'll put links on his show notes page so you can go. You can write letters. You can communicate with the government here and say, hey, you know what? Come on. Let's create some more jobs. Let's make this happen. I have the confidence it's going to go through. It's gotten so far, but it's very, very frustrating. But I am so excited about this. And I'm glad you were able to share this with the listeners. I knew about it, but I didn't know if I should say anything. So I wanted to let you do that.
Yeah. And the GR1 is going to be another very exciting project between Shelby Legendary Cars and, of course, Shelby American in Vegas. And we are also looking at an electric powertrain that Shelby.
Oh, really?
Vince and Gary out at Shelby American are working with. That's the next thing for Shelby American. Shelby American doesn't stop. They just keep going.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And these guys are at the forefront of performance, for anything Ford. It's just amazing what Gary and Vince have done, in that company over the last couple of years. It's helped me a lot because, I follow along with the old cars and all the 60s cars, and they just keep pushing the limits to performance and handling and everything in all the new cars, the Mustangs, the Ford Raptors, the F-150s, the Focuses and Fiestas. Shelby's really a growing company and doing very well at the moment. And their exports have gone amazing all over Europe. You go, everybody just talks about the Shelby versions of the Fords.
Incredible legend that he created.
Yeah. I'm really excited working with Vince and Gary with the GR1 also for the Shelby upgraded versions of the GR1. And that'll include an electric powertrain.
Well, the future is very bright for Superformance Hillbank. I'm so excited to hear all this news. And for those listeners that might be new, go back and listen to my talk with Lance before. I know we changed our format up a little today, but I didn't want to go through the same questions again. You can go back and hear how he answered some of that lightning round of that last lap I always do here on Cars Yeah, but I wanted to really share a lot about HR22, a lot about the future, a lot about what's happening with Lance and his business. And I also want to remind you that Superformance and some of the team there will be at the La Jolla Concours, right, this year again?
Yes. We're really excited about it. As I said, unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. I have a family commitment, but we will be there. Todd Andrews and his wife, Jody, will be there. My sons will be there bringing cars in. That same weekend, we have fabulous Fords and we have the Long Beach Grand Prix. So we'll be at all three locations. So we will be split up a little. But please let the guys go see Todd Andrews and he'll be at the event. We'll have our cars there. We've got a couple of really special cars we're taking to the event. And Michael Dorvier, just does an incredible job of that event. It gets better every year. And it's I can highly recommend it if you want to have a great weekend. Book in to one of the hotels in La Jolla and go and enjoy the La Jolla Concourse. It's the next Monterey, the next Amelia Island. It's really close behind.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I'll remind our listeners, it takes place April 12th through the 14th. I'll be down there all week participating, and I get to participate in the drive this year, which is going to be really fun. Some of my friends down there are going to take me along on that. So check it out. You can go to lajollaconcours.com to buy tickets, to learn about the event. It's spectacular. It's right there at La Jolla Cove, overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean. I mean, the venue is absolutely brilliant. Lance, you've taken me on another great ride, as you always do, buddy. I'll never forget that drifting ride I got to take at SEMA last year in one of your cars. Holy cow.
We'll be doing that again with you this year.
Well, of course, it blew my toupee right off. That's why I say I have no hair left on my head, because we went so fast there. But I want to thank you again for phoning in out of your busy schedule and sharing some more time with me here today. Love your family. Love what you're doing. Could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you rip off down the coast highway in that Superformance automobile?
You know, I'm probably going to steal this from somebody else, but it just says, just go for it. You know, your life is short. Appreciate everybody around you. Appreciate what everybody does for you, because you're not doing it on your own. And I have a great team, and that's what's so cool about me. I've got the whole family involved, my sons and my daughter, and I consider everybody else who works for me. Most of them have been here since we opened the doors 20 years ago, and they're all part of the family and all the surrounding companies that we deal with.
It's fantastic. And since you and I spoke, you became a grandfather too. Congratulations, Grandpa.
Oh, yeah. That's the most exciting thing. And she was born as Shelby Stander. So we're really proud of that. And she's a character. Course. She's a total car girl already, only a year old, loves walking around the showroom, hates being in the offices. She comes and touches each one of the cars and pulls on the spinners, and she loves being in the showroom. So she's definitely a car girl.
She's beautiful. I had the distinct pleasure of getting to meet her too. So, well, listeners, again, make sure you check out this HR22 issue. Help us out with this. This is so important, and you can make a difference. I've got thousands of Cars Yeah podcast listeners. If every one of you just did this one little thing, I'll make sure I put links to how you can do it on the Cars Yeah website, on Lance's page. And make sure you join me and some of the Superformance team at the La Jolla Concours this year, April 12th through the 14th. I'll be there having fun. You should be there too. Lance, thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise, and for sharing your many spectacular experiences with the Cars Yeah listeners. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Hey, Mark Green here from the Cars Yeah podcast. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? That's right. Cars Yeah is now on MAV TV. I visit some of the past Cars Yeah guests and take you along for the ride. Go to mavtv.com to learn more where you can enjoy Cars Yeah TV. MAV TV is also available on DirecTV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through mavtv.com online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.